Hi, I'm Scott Humphrey, CEO of the World Floor Covering Association, and this is Leadership Live. As we continue our process of leadership by the letter, the word this week is discipline. And I bet a lot of you just hit the stop button and said, I'll tune in again next week. Because it's not one of the more exciting words that we talk about, but it is a differentiator for great leaders. In fact, let me give you this definition that I've created for discipline, and maybe it will help you understand why it's so important. Discipline is a committed effort to train oneself to do something in a controlled manner, leading to the formation of a habit. Are there any positive habits you want to apply in your life? Have you ever tried to commit yourself to a habit, maybe a New Year's resolution, and you failed? If so, you probably failed because you were not disciplined enough, committed enough to complete the task. Let me put it this way. Discipline is required to achieve and to maintain greatness. You don't get great by just deciding you want to be great. You're disciplined and you're focused. Michael Phelps is a great example. The winningest Olympian of all time, 28 medals, 8 medals alone in the 2008 Olympics. Phenomenal swimmer, the greatest of all time in my mind and probably in the minds of most people. When he was 14 years old, he began focusing on making it to the Beijing Olympics. And from the time he was 14 to the Beijing Olympics, he swam 6 hours a day for 7 days a week, 365 days a year. In fact, he noted that he did it 7 days a week because he felt like he gained 52 days on his competition, who would probably take Sunday off. He was disciplined in his effort. He didn't just wake up one day and go, you know what, I think I'd like to be an Olympian. No, he committed himself to a task and he was disciplined in the effort to get there. And look at the reward that he achieved. Again, let me say it. Discipline is required to achieve and to maintain greatness. Jim Rohn's a famous speaker, author, entrepreneur. And Jim Rohn put it this way: discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Many of us have goals, maybe to lose weight or to get in shape, or maybe it's to spend more time with loved ones, whatever it may be. But a goal without the commitment and the discipline that's necessary to make it happen is going to fail every time. This is the reason the majority of people fail at their New Year's resolutions. They just can't stick with it. My dear friend Stan Beecham shared a story with me he's the author of Elite Minds, just a great guy, and he trains Olympic athletes. He told me the story of Sam Mervost. In fact, I shared that story. I was blessed to be one of the authors of a chapter in this book called The Wow Factor that was released a couple of years ago. Sam was a strength coach at the University of Georgia, and he had a couple of football players that had been to a psychology class, and they came in, and at the class they've been talking about how much TV is okay for kids to watch. Could it be bad for them? And so they come in talking about that, and they go, hey, Sam, you got two boys. How much TV do you let your boys watch? He said, I let them watch as much as they want. He said, oh my gosh, you can't do that. Our teacher was telling us that can't be good for their development. You got to stop it. He said, guys, don't worry. He said, I'll let them watch all the TV they want as long as during every commercial they get down and do push-ups. And as long as they're willing to do push-ups, I'm willing to let them watch TV. Well, they kind of laughed it off, thought maybe Sam was joking with them. But a couple of weeks later, he had his two boys in, and one of the guys remembered the story. And so several of the boys challenged Sam Mervos's boys to a push-up competition. So here are these two young boys against some of the most defined and in-shape athletes in the world at that time. And they start and they begin the competition. The football players began dropping out at 30, 40, some of them might have made it to 50 push-ups, and the boys are still going at 60 and 70. Now, don't miss the point. We often look at discipline and we go, oh my gosh, that's just drudgery. That's another D word, but discipline is much different because it leads us to a fruitful end. But these were not boys who spent their whole life doing push-ups. They only did it during the commercial breaks. So what are the commercial breaks in your life? Where could you apply your time that is not used to make a difference in your leadership? Maybe it's doing push-ups during a commercial break. I took that on as a challenge. When somebody challenged me and said, well, what about you? You share the story. I began 4 years ago to do push-ups during commercial breaks. And I started, if I was lucky, I could do 10. In fact, I saw a thing on Facebook that 21 veterans committed suicide every day, and they were asking people to do the 21 challenge. And I did it. And then 21 got easy, and I did my age, 54 at the time, and I did 54 push-ups a day, and that became easy. And then I did 100. That year, I ended up doing over 100,000 push-ups. Last year, I did over 250,000 push-ups. And I don't spend all day. I don't sit down for an hour and do push-ups. I only do it during those breaks, not just during commercial breaks, but sometimes during a meeting. I'll come in and close my door after the meeting is over, come back and just kind of refresh my mind by doing a set of push-ups. And now I've taken that theory further. I'm disciplined to not only use it for push-ups, but by writing a thank you note to someone, or taking the time to say a prayer, read a scripture, or read a chapter in a book, whatever it may be. What are the commercial breaks in your life? And if you did something in those commercial breaks, could you make a difference not only to you as an individual, but as a leader for the impact that you have on so many others? Discipline may not be one of the most exciting words we talk about, but it's a difference maker. Discipline is required to achieve and maintain greatness. That's what we're after in 2022. Greatness in leadership. So apply discipline and then go out there and lead.